As a result, most teachers still have basic misconceptions about explicit or direct teaching. We made instructional decisions based on data. Sound familiar? Our mantras were keep your eye on the data and act on it, and if the student hasn't learned, the teacher hasn't taught. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Sure, the kids have to attend school for you to teach them, and yes, they have to come to school with adequate food and sleep. Ever heard of Project Follow-Through? I've asked this question for decades. I can count on both hands the teachers who have heard of it. Project Follow-Through was the largest and most expensive experiment in U.S. education, the cornerstone of the war on poverty. Extensive evaluations occurred from 1968 to 1977. Funding continued until 1995. 30 years later, in 1999, joint findings by the National Education Association and the American Association of School Administrators echoed what Follow-Through revealed. Follow-Through intended to identify which whole school, curriculum, and instructional approaches to raise student achievement worked best and which did not. At its height, Follow-Through grew to encompass 20 different interventions, 700,000 students in 178 projects nationwide. The goal was to identify, fund, and disseminate the most effective instructional practices for disadvantaged and, by extension, advantaged students alike. Indeed, Follow-Through was comprehensive in both depth and breadth. Let's take a closer look. There were essentially three approaches around which the competing models clustered: basic academic skills, cognitive or problem-solving skills, and self-esteem skills. The horizontal baseline of 0 represents the control group, that is, children who did not participate in Project Follow-Through programs. Scores above the 0 line indicate a positive change in performance compared to the control group. That is, they did better. Scores below the 0 line indicate a negative change in performance compared to the control group. They did worse. Here you can see that many models did much worse than the standard education programs provided to the control groups. Direct instruction, also called explicit teaching, the basic skills model on the far left of the graph, was the clear winner, raising participating children's average scores in these basic skill areas to near the national average. As you can see, in fact, direct instruction excelled across all three areas: basic academic skills, cognitive or problem-solving skills, and self-esteem skills. Here's a question for you. Based on what you see here, which model would you have endorsed or supported? You can read the history and fascinating details of Follow-Through online. We'll tell you the surprise ending to this tale in an upcoming video. I smile now to remember myself in the mid-1970s as a young and naive trainer, believing that my colleagues and I would be able to retire early when teachers soon applied this compelling research. Ah, youthful naivete. This remarkable experience, however, drove the underlying principles of explicit teaching deep into my bones. I've continued to delve into what emerging evidence reveals, what matters and what does not. I've succeeded, failed, and succeeded again. My successes always came with applying the research. What I found out is that applying foundational research really works. I tell you my story because what I have learned can make all the difference for you, and you can make all the difference for the kids. I've been advised to write a book. From what I've seen, the last thing teachers need is another textbook. Over decades in classrooms, I've never once observed any teacher reach for a textbook on teaching while they're teaching. Coaching What Works, what they didn't teach you in teacher training, is a coaching system to visibly improve teaching without more textbooks or workshops or consultants or curriculum. Coaching What Works is different. This simple tool is born from a lifetime of working side by side with teachers like you. Teachers and students have taught me how to translate what the experts say into a simple, real-world professional development tool, into something that frees us so we can get to the point, to cut to the chase, to get clear about, to actually implement, to actually do what works best. Coaching What Works, what they didn't teach you in teacher training, is a DIY, do-it-yourself professional development tool to help K-12 teachers apply foundational research so that you really can teach practically anything to practically anybody. Work solo, or ideally in peer coaching teams, to create common language and common experience, even if you can't imagine juggling one more demand.